All right, here we go. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Career Lab Wednesday. We are getting started here. Welcome, everyone. I am your host, George Miller. I'm here every Wednesday, or almost every Wednesday, from noon to 1 p.m. Central. Thank you. And I am here to help you navigate, develop yourself, etc., in your career. So the way that I look at development in career is that you are developing yourself. So your job, whatever position you're in, and whatever relationships you have, a major purpose of that is for you to become who you can become. And so when looking at your job and what you're doing, how you're contributing to the world in that kind of a way, it often can help give you focus about what you're wanting, and will help you be able to determine choices that you're making in your career. Are you getting satisfied in the ways that you want to? Are you able to develop your gifts in the ways that you're wanting to? So that's the overall context for how I look at you developing in your career. And that can then play out in all kinds of ways while you are working on your resume and interviewing and growing up in whatever position you're in. So, all that to say, any question is welcome that's career related. Anything about social and emotional intelligence is also welcome. You'll find that I will usually tie what you're talking to back to something in EQ. That's my specialty. So, what we've got on the table for today is to be talking about how emotional intelligence enhances connectivity and creativity. And this is something that I really love. I actually got into being a coach by way of loving the creative process with other people. So I'm an artist and musician by trade. That's what I went to school for originally, and worked with bands and that kind of thing for many years. And I always liked being in the rehearsal space, in this spot where we got to try things out and see what worked and come up with creative innovations to things. And so that is essentially what I do in coaching sessions. It's me and whoever I'm working with, whether it's an individual or a group. And what we're doing is tapping the group or the individual's inner wisdom and seeing what they are capable of. And so we'll experiment with things and try on new behaviors, test things out, so that whether you're working with your team that you're working on, or whether it's a personal relationship, you are now playing with new behaviors that are better satisfying the deeper needs that you have. And this, as an adult, it usually comes with a bit of discomfort. So Jack Mesereau, who talks a lot about transformational leadership, adult continued education, what he says is that childhood is about formation and adulthood is about transformation. And one of the things with transformation is that it comes with discomfort. Because as an adult, all of my ways of being, all my habits, all my things that I would call my personality have been solidified. There's my system has said, okay, we're going to maintain this. And that's cool. That's a good thing, so that my system can run and I can operate on sort of a higher level. However, when I want to make significant changes, or sometimes not even that significant, sometimes just little changes in how I communicate and in how I see myself, it will require a breaking of the patterns that I've already developed. And that usually comes with discomfort. So it's good to know that, so that when I'm taking these risks, if I'm speaking up in a meeting, say, in a way that I haven't before, to understand, oh my goodness, of course I'm going to be feeling some discomfort. Of course I'm going to feel some anxiety about this. And that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with me. Just means that I'm moving into the next level of my development that I want to be doing. And so that can really help with the shift of how I think about myself and how I talk about myself. And doing that, that's the emotional intelligence part. So being aware of my own feelings, my own thoughts, understanding a lot about myself. That's how I look at emotional intelligence. And then as I do that, I can then think about how I am in a group, how I am with another person, and that's social intelligence. Okay, I'm understanding that I'm taking a risk here, that I'm feeling some feelings of um, anxiety and maybe a little bit of hurt, maybe a little bit of irritation too, just with how things are in this group. Okay, got it. All of that. And that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with me. In fact, that is a necessary thing of me developing myself. Just like at the gym, my body gets sore. I'm lifting weights. I'm doing new motions, and that's going to bring about soreness. And I could think to myself, oh, geez, I'm hurting. Don't ever do that again. But as I train myself to be with that discomfort of the sore muscles, I start to actually enjoy it. I start to know, oh, this is me developing. Good. Oh, this feels good. I'm using my body. I'm using what I have to work with. Same thing goes for emotional intelligence. As I am stretching into new behaviors, I actually begin to crave that. I'll start getting bored if I'm not challenging myself to develop and expand my personality, to take on new behaviors. So, all of that to say that in connection and creativity, if we look at starting with myself or yourself, an individual, allowing myself to be with the discomfort, the primary feelings of fear, hurt, anger, sadness, and joy, allowing myself to be with that discomfort and break through and try new behaviors automatically opens me up to more creativity. I become more creative because I'm not resisting uncomfortable feelings. I'm now going to allow in new opportunities. I'm going to let myself see things that I hadn't seen before because my system was so focused on not feeling core emotions that as soon as I choose to engage in behaviors that allow me to feel those core emotions, all of a sudden the world starts to open up to me. I start to see more possibilities than I would have seen before. So that's just my internal creativity. I didn't have to do anything with anybody else. Just by way of me allowing myself to feel my core feelings more, I will automatically start to be more creative. And I will then also start to be open to more connection. Because one of the other things is that when I am in a mode of being and I'm saying, this is my personality, this is how I am, this is how I see the world, then when other people are trying to make contact with me in meetings, or if I'm with my wife and kids, then that means that they're trying to connect with me in different ways. And my mode of being is like, nope, we don't do that. And so I'm actually blocking ways of connection that are all around me. But as I choose to be with the core feelings more and more, and I don't have to defend against me, just me feeling those, then I start to open up new avenues of ways that people are trying to connect with me. So we've got this core thing of emotional intelligence. That's like the logo that I'm working on is this iceberg. We see what's at the top, and underneath is this huge amount of stuff that really is controlling where the iceberg is going. That's our unconscious, that's our emotions. And so if I allow myself to be more present with whatever I'm feeling, then I'm able to guide things more effectively in myself. I'm able to guide myself with greater clarity. And again, open myself up to new forms of connection and open myself up to more creativity. And I think at this point, you're going to see the connection this has to being with teams. Because if I'm at work and I am now allowing in more creativity and more opportunities of connection, well, then I'm really beginning to empower my employees, my team, my boss, my clients, customers, etc. I'm now allowing myself to see them more accurately and to be open to new possibilities with them. And that has an effect for them. They're going to be able to understand themselves better. They're going to be able to be more creative. So, one person in a group changing and expanding their emotional intelligence ends up having profound impacts on a team. And you will start to be able to influence those around you more. And they will then start to do similar things. It's like a contagion, it's a positive contagion. So, this is a key thing about you in the workplace. This is why people who are developing as leaders pay so much attention to emotional intelligence. It underlines everyone's ability to be able to learn and grow. The more emotionally intelligent that I am, the more I am going to be open to learning and growing. So that's the outline of what we're talking about today, what I'm sharing with you. But I want to invite everybody who's joining in on YouTube Live and on LinkedIn Live. You are welcome to ask questions. I love your questions. Your questions give me fuel to run this topic of connectivity and creativity through your questions. So there's a few ways you can do that. You can jump in here directly on Zoom. If you want that link, we'll get it to you. And if that's not an option for you, you are welcome to type your questions into the comment section, and I will do my best to work with those. If you're viewing in and you get your question across to me, I'll start working with it. And I love it when you are like, no, George, it's more kind of like this. And you start giving me more data as we go along, and I can support you better that way. So there's a few ways you can do this. You can jump in directly on Zoom, or you can type your questions into the comment section, and I will get to those questions. So I'm going to take a look here and see what we're getting in here. Okay, so we're getting a question about how do what if the person on my team is not open to new ideas? Okay. So this is a big thing. One of the things that you're going to want to understand I'm going to make an assumption here. So if you can type in, let me know how long you've been at the company. And I suspect that you've not been there as long as some other people there. So I'm going to approach this question from the angle that you were hired more recently, and that part of your job is to have people who have been there longer than you shift how they're doing things. So right there, right, that is a significant challenge. And it's going to be helpful for you to understand some of the core feelings that are probably happening. So in yourself, you're likely feeling anxiety. You're likely feeling some hurt and probably some irritation or anger, because you can see you've been given a directive. Your boss or whoever has said, okay, here's what your job is. This is why we hired you. And part of that is that you need to change the way that people need to change how they're doing things where you're at. And so you come in and you are now asking people who perhaps are set in their ways to change how they're doing things. And they are likely resisting that. So right there, you're going to be feeling the fear, the hurt, and the anger. Now, again, when I say fear, hurt, and anger, I'm not talking about the kind of fear that somebody feels in combat. I'm not talking about the kind of fear that you have if you're jumping out of an airplane or something. I'm talking about the fears of rejection, the fears that somebody is going to talk badly about you behind your back, that kind of thing. And the hurts that come with that. I'm not talking about a catastrophic thing, not like, burning your hand off or that sort of thing, but like feeling hurt, like, oh man, these people aren't getting me. Here I am trying to help and they're not understanding. And I feel hurt about that. And then with the irritation and the anger, same thing. Not it's not like rageful aggression that we're looking at here, but it's like, hey, I'm angry that I'm here trying to do my job and y'all aren't playing with me. And it's like I'm experiencing you as making this more difficult than it needs to be. So that's what when you hear me say fear, hurt, and anger, I'm talking about it in a very mundane way. A reason that I use those words, fear, hurt, and anger, is because it is helpful to kind of go to the root of whatever feelings you're having. So I find saying anger is a little more useful than saying irritation. Again, you might not say this in a meeting. You might not say, oh, I'm irritated or angry, but for you to know what's kind of going on inside your body. Okay, I hope that's helpful. I wanted to set that context around when I'm saying these words like fear, hurt, and anger. So let's establish this again. I'm assuming that you are trying to influence the people that you're working with to be doing things differently, and that's going to be necessary. They're going to have to take on new behaviors in order for you to be effective, and in order for the project that you're working on to be effective. Okay, all that now to say is you are aware of your feelings in these meetings where people are not aligning with what you have been tasked to have them align with. It's great for you to know that. You're probably experiencing something of imposter syndrome. If you're more of an analyzer, cooperator type, you're probably going to be questioning yourself and wondering how you're doing things wrong. And it's really helpful to just let yourself know that you are feeling upset about something and that it's not anything about you or how you're doing your job. It's not about you being a good or bad person. So that can just be a helpful reframe there. And if you're more of a energizer regulator type, then it's helpful to know that you might actually want to be more in touch with your feelings. You might actually want to be more aware of that, because you might be pushing people away in not kind of understanding their discomfort. So all that now to say, as you're aware of your feelings, you're now going to be able to be more aware of your team's feelings. You're going to be able to understand that, oh my goodness, here they are. They've been doing things in the way that they have been operating. They've been doing this for some time, and here I am changing the game on them. I can understand why they might feel afraid. I can understand why they might feel some anger and resistance, and possibly even how they feel some hurt of, ouch, like I'm experiencing that there's something wrong with how I'm doing it. So as you allow yourself to feel your feelings more, you're going to be more in touch with your team's feelings. That's a very helpful thing. It will now, like we were talking about earlier, you will be able to expand your ways of communicating with them. So instead of just trying the same thing of saying, well, logically, we should do this, this, and this. This is what's going to work. If that isn't working and people keep coming up with excuses and things to not implement what needs to be implemented, then you may be able to try a new approach of, okay, everybody, you know, I've got concerns about where we are now and where we need to get to. I was brought on to help this transition happen, for us to meet the expectations that we set out for our goal of this year. And I need all of your help. Right there, you're being more vulnerable now. You're communicating a little bit of hurt, of that, hey, there's something I want, and I'm going to need you to help make that happen. And so we're going to need to be on the same page. And then you can even start affirming them, like, you all understand the processes that are here. And part of what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to change those. So I'm really relying on how well you know stuff, because as we shift things, you're going to be able to see some of the potential issues that might come up as we shift things. So I really need us together on this. So notice how, when I'm speaking in this way of acknowledging, I didn't say fear, hurt, anger, but just by me allowing myself to feel those, I'm now using language that I believe will be more effective for you. It is more vulnerable. You're kind of opening yourself up, but that's a new behavior for you to develop as a leader. This is emotional intelligence. This is learning how to be more mutual with other people. So I hope that's helpful. Please let me know if I was on track with that. I kind of think I guessed right. But I'm seeing another question coming in here. And okay, great. I'm going to get to this question in one moment. We're coming up on the halfway point here. So I want to say to everybody who's joining in, this is Career Lab Wednesday. I'm your host, George Miller. I'm here almost every Wednesday from noon to 1 p.m. Central Time. There's a few ways you can engage with me. I love it when you jump in here on Zoom directly, or type your questions into the comment section on YouTube or LinkedIn. And then you can also take the personality assessment that you've heard me referring to, the CARE personality assessment. I think of it as a combination of all the other ones out there, but in a sort of super user-friendly way. It doesn't take you too long to do. And the main point of it is to help you recognize other personality styles and how to communicate with other types. So you'll get a little bit about yourself in it, but it's really more about you understanding communicating with other personality styles. So that's one way that you can engage with me is using that tool. And if you ever want to set up a time to talk with me, I'm happy to have a one-to-one. I know jumping in here on something that's live streaming is a little risky. So you can always set up a time on my calendar. I'm happy to talk with you for 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes I help people, get clarity about their next step in that time. And sometimes we end up establishing a longer coaching relationship. So feel free to reach out to me about that. And then another thing I want to say is if you're here in Chicago and you have any interest in going into icy cold water this winter, there's a few ways you can engage with me on that. So I have videos about that on YouTube and on my Instagram channel, but I'm also hosting events on the weekends here in Chicago. So we'll throw a link for you there too. Of course, I need you to sign a waiver and look at some things to prepare yourself for that. But if that has any interest for you, please check it out. Been a very meaningful thing in my practice. So take a look at that. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. I want to jump back now to this question. I am capable of doing work if am I am capable of doing work effectively and unable to narrate it continuously. Most of the time I get scattered from the point. This makes me feel low in my confidence. Whenever I start a conversation with new people or a new person, I'm stuck expressing my ideas. This is fantastic. This is a great question. Thank you for asking this. As you're viewing in, let me know if I'm speaking to you, if I'm helping, or if you want me to go in another direction. I'm going to do my best to work with you on this. So I'll start with a core thing you can begin, a skill that you're going to want to develop. So start with thinking about and talking about yourself from who you were, who you are now, and where you're going. This is something that you will be building for the rest of your life, is this habit, this pattern of where from, where at, where to. It's an effective way to communicate yourself. So you might say, if you're so you say that you work effectively, you're good at getting tasks done. So you might say, as somebody in tech design and who grew up playing with Legos and building things, I found it easy to translate that to tech design. And then and now I'm working on communicating that better and being able to collaborate more with other people. And I'm wanting to get to the point where I am operating at this kind of a level with a team. Right there. So you're acknowledging where you're from, and so we're talking. I'm assuming that you're in tech, and I'm assuming that you're talking to people in your field about what you do. So you want to have that context, but then you can take that where I was, where I am, where I'm going, and run that through whatever the context is that you have. So if you're in tech, if you're developing in that way, that might be a way that you would communicate that. And you're acknowledging too, so that having low confidence about something, it's important to understand that um, low confidence and self-esteem and imposter syndrome, I like to say, so what? Like, everybody on the face of the earth is insecure about something. And if you're not, then you probably should be, or you should at least be aware that you're actually insecure about something. I mean, to be human is to be imperfect and insecure. So I don't like to give a whole lot of, like, I don't know, attention to imposter syndrome, because I just think it's part of life. And so now what we want to do with it is acknowledge what's true about it, and how do I use my sense of inadequacy in a way that can be productive. So yeah, I'm good at getting the job done. I'm good at building designs. I'm good at implementing. If I can write code and get things completed that way. I'm pretty creative, and I'm looking to um, move to another company or another position where I can collaborate more, because I can only do so much on my own, and I want to be able to um, work with other people effectively. So I'm seeing that this is a position that I could move into, and perhaps eventually, because of my background in coding, I would be able to help bigger projects be more successful. So instead of the fact that I'm not good at communicating with people being a problem, I'm now just acknowledging what's so, and saying, this is something I'm working on, and here's where I see myself going with it. And so it's like, you don't have to like tank yourself just because you've got some insecurities. So what? I hope that's helpful. Let me see what, yes, okay. Into okay, cool. When interacting with others, especially new people, it can drain my energy, making it harder to focus on the conversation and articulate my ideas clearly. Oh, I'm so glad you just said that. Okay. So this is, first of all, what I want you to understand. I'll call you V. V, what I want you to understand is that you're not going to make a huge change in how you interact with people in one day, a week, maybe even a month. You're going to make a lot of little changes. This is the law of little things. Ends up making a big difference in the long run, but you're not going to do it quickly. And it's important to understand this when we are adults that are doing things that are outside of our comfort zone. We want to understand that it's going to take time, because our brains are freaking brilliant, and they can see all kinds of possibilities, and it's like, oh, I just should be where I want to be right now. Well, it doesn't work that way. And it really helps to understand some of the blocks to changing our behaviors. And one of them, probably the biggest one, is unhealthy self-criticism. We can talk about that more later. So when I'm saying all this to say that you're going to be looking for the subtle changes that you have while interacting with people. You're going to build on those. So at this point, I suspect what's happening when you're interacting with people is that you have not been so open to whatever you're feeling. Fear, hurt, anger, sadness, and joy. All of us turn our joy down. We all find ways to do that because we were made fun of for being too excited about something when we were younger, whatever. There's all kinds of ways that we limit even our joy, because being too happy about something can, is risky. People can take shots at you then. And so I suspect that when you're in groups of people, you are spending a lot of your energy suppressing what you're feeling and just trying to keep it tight and keep it together and not look stupid. And that's an issue, because that energy of trying to not look stupid, or not look weird or whatever, ends up draining. It takes effort. So in the first things you can do is simply start acknowledging how you're feeling. So you're already doing that. This is good. I it can drain my energy when I'm in it. So it's actually going to be more effective for you to take full responsibility, and instead of saying it can drain my energy, saying I am not operating as efficiently as I could. Because if I say it's draining my energy, I am now acting like a victim to other people. The group, it's draining me. And there's not a lot I can do when I'm a victim, because I'm out operating at the mercy of the group or whatever else. But if I can be with the discomfort and say to myself, actually, I am operating inefficiently. I am resisting feeling what I'm feeling, and I'm blaming the group for it. Huh. Well, that kind of sucks. But I might be able to do something about that and start shifting things. So, what I invite you to do is to simply allow yourself and notice the ways that you feel uncomfortable in a group, and see how you might be kind of blaming others, or assuming that you're not able to do something, and just notice it first. This kind of thing takes time to change. And in fact, that's one reason why I facilitate I have group coaching sessions, is because I want people to be able to test out new behaviors in an environment where everybody gets the game, where everybody understands what we're doing. I should call it the emotional intelligence gym. The course is called EQ Accelerator right now, but maybe I'll give it that tagline some later time. And it's in a spot like that, so you can do this one-on-one with me. And in fact, I don't let most people go into it. You need some training to even get into the course. So you do one-to-one coaching with me, where you are taking bigger risks and allowing yourself to feel what you're feeling, and you're trying on new behaviors with me, and then you're implementing that into your workplace. And then when you get enough training, then you go into a group where that's what everybody's doing, is everyone's trying on new behaviors, being increasingly present with their feelings, and the results in the real world are amazing. So I hope that's helpful. V, okay, you've got that. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, it makes sense. Finding yourself holding back a lot. See, me holding myself back, that takes energy. It takes energy for me to resist my natural tendencies, my natural urges. And, rightly so. It's not like we're all going to act on all of our urges. We wouldn't be alive. So there's nothing wrong with the fact that I have resistance to things, but I can notice that resistance, and I can say, oh, you know what? I don't need that much resistance. So sometimes I don't want to say the wrong thing, or I'm worried about how people will perceive me. It's like I'm always over analyzing. And by the time I figure out what to say, the moment has passed. Yep, you are seeing it. You are seeing the ways that you are ineffective in groups, and it comes with a cost. You end up draining yourself of your life force, spending a lot of energy resisting yourself. So what I'm going to recommend again is that you simply start by noticing this. Just noticing that you're doing it in the moment. Then you will get sick of noticing how you are holding yourself back in the moment, and you will make the choice to face your discomfort in that moment and speak up sooner. And you know what? When you do, you're probably going to do it awkwardly. You're probably not going to do it correctly, or like, you're not going to all of a sudden be super graceful in your interactions in groups. You're going to probably mess up and feel uncomfortable with yourself. And you're going to have to say to yourself, oh, good job. At least I went for it. Great. Huh. Now I have that experience. How could I do it differently? How could I speak up in a way that is even more effective? And then this is another reason why it's so helpful in coaching, is because you go back and forth with me. You get to practice it. And I'll tell you too, I'll tell you exactly what I think. If I think you're really awkward, I'll tell you that. A lot of people will tell you that kind of thing. So I'd like to, if you want to meet with me one-to-one, please do. And for anybody else who's listening in and thinking that you might benefit from one-to-one coaching where you get to practice how you interact, then set up a time with me. This is also what I do in mock interviews, is I ask you questions, and when you lose me, when I find myself not wanting to pay attention to your responses to my question, I'll tell you. And what happens so often in interviews is that you're there trying to impress the interviewer, and they've already given up on you and are just waiting for this to be done. And so, by way of testing this stuff out, you get the practice of understanding in the moment how other people are perceiving you and how you're able to shift your behaviors so that you can be more effective and connected with the person you're talking to. Okay, let me see. First step, becoming more aware. Yep. Yes. Yeah, just acknowledge it. You're seeing that what you've done in the past is that you actually escape your body. You're like, I don't want to feel that uncomfort. I don't want to feel the anxiety and the irritation I feel in this group. So I'm going to go up to my head and I'm just going to think about this stuff. I'm just going to over process. And that's actually kind of cruel to yourself, by the way. And it does not help you move forward. It takes you out of the moment. So I'm so glad you're seeing that. So as you catch yourself going up to your head and over processing things, what you're going to be doing now is saying, oh, there I am. I'm doing that thing where now I'm over analyzing this interaction. Just come back to myself and say how I'm feeling. I feel afraid. I feel anxiety about this interaction right now. That is one of the most effective things you can do. You will be practicing this for years. I still am doing this right now. When I get into an argument with my wife or with a coworker or something like that, like, I am going back to my feelings. What am I feeling now? Oh, okay, I'm feeling that. Oh, geez, wow, look at how I just made up all that stuff that is not real at all with this person that I'm talking to. Oh, wait, I'm going to just say what I need to say. So this is a skill. So let me know how that goes. Great question. So we're coming up on the end of the hour here. And I'll say again, there's a few ways to engage with me. I love it when you ask your questions on the comment section. If you're just joining in, please type any questions that you have, anything career related, anything about how you communicate. Type that into the comment section and I'll do my best to get to that. You can always watch all of these videos on my YouTube channel. These are available so you can look at the topics and see what interests you and dive in there. I've also got a bunch of shorts that go up. And so if you like this stuff, subscribe so that you're getting these little bits of information about how you can engage more effectively with other people. And then if you like the ice water stuff, if you have any interest in that, or you just like watching some weirdo Chicagoan jumping in a frozen lake, then check that out there and on Instagram. And to talk with me, go to my website and set up a time. I've got 15-minute chunks. We'll talk for 15 to 20 minutes. I'll see how I can help you move forward. And sometimes we go into a coaching relationship. All right, great. So it looks like, oh, good, good, V. Hey, thank you for your questions. Thank you for jumping in and asking. I'm so glad that this is helpful to you. And I want you to know that you just demonstrated a type of leadership by asking questions. So you might take that into some of the interactions that you're having, is simply asking questions. Asking questions is quite a skill. And if you want to get engaged in a group, instead of saying what you think, sometimes it's really good to acknowledge your ignorance and ask a question, especially an open-ended question. Yes, no questions don't really, you're already assuming an answer with that. And so people will often experience that sort of like a trap. Sometimes a yes no question helps people, is helping people think through what they're thinking through. But I would invite you to start by asking open-ended questions. Tell me more about that, or help me understand what we're talking about here. Help me understand what you see as the issue in this project that we're working on. That kind of thing is a really good way to practice onboarding yourself into discussions, is open-ended questions. You'll feel uncomfortable when you do it. You might kind of stutter over your words a little bit. What I recommend is letting yourself speak as slowly as you want to. That will then demonstrate to other people that you are comfortable with space and that you're giving them space to think, to take the time that they need to think through your question. Okay, I hope that's a little helpful addition there. All right, well, we're coming up here. I think I will begin to close up unless there's any questions that any of you have online. Let me know, type them into the comments section, and I will do my best to answer. So if you got any questions, anything career related, anything communication related, feel free to type that in, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. All right, everybody. I think I get to end early today. Well, blessings. Remember that you are a gift, that your feelings are incredible, useful data. And as you do that, you will develop the ability to be more present with your feelings as you are learning and growing. Take care, everybody.